up tempo this time.
Yeah.
Kind of took me by surprise. We're starting off on a good foot here. Keep me on my toes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Feels Like Weezer. It's the podcast where we talk about Weezer, their entire discography, song by song, track by track. I'm Zach Breckingsmith. You can follow me on Twitter at The Informal Log.
And I'm Eric Nash. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lucky Mustard.
And to my left is a bookshelf. We don't have a guest today. I tricked you, Eric. You thought I had a super secret guest, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Just humor me, all right? So today we finished the Green Album. Eric, we did it.
Yeah.
Our long national nightmare is over. And so today we're gonna do our recap episode. We're gonna talk about strengths and weaknesses of the album, and then give our song rankings. Based on our ratings that we give them. So, hey, Eric.
Yeah?
What'd you think of this album?
Well, we had our going into it thoughts, and now after having gone through and gotten a lot more familiar with the songs on this album, and then given it a good re-listen or two, I'm pretty happy with it, and mostly because it's short.
Right.
Definitely, if it were 10, 20 minutes longer, that I could totally see it. I mean, it would be like, oh man, these songs. I mean, we're just getting more of these. I mean, they're really pretty power poppy songs,
mm-hmm.
but they're awfully good. I mean, every now and then there's one that's a little bit on the, okay, it's not great, but it's also over quick. The song itself is
right.
also over quick, so
I don't have to suffer through crap that long.
Yeah, it's not like I mean, I like some progressive rock,
mm-hmm.
and those progressive rock songs are usually longer songs. Every now and then they throw some shorter ones in, or some mid-length ones, whatever, but if you come across one of those songs and you're not too into it, then you really have a good reason to change, go to the next track on an album if you're going through an album or in a playlist or whatever. But no, I mean, I actually think I really pretty much like this album, but again, I'm glad it's not too long.
Yeah. And I think I can agree with you, surprisingly, in regards to that, just because, like I kind of said at the beginning, it's the songs individually,
mm-hmm.
I think, are pretty okay. Mostly. There are some that are just big stinkers,
Mm-hmm.
And then, but like looking at the album as a whole, I think honestly the best part about the album is that it's over quickly, which that sounds super rough, but
right.
Honestly, because there's not a lot of meat to it. It's power pop, and coming right off of Pinkerton, whether you all know my opinion on Pinkerton, which I'm not a huge fan of, but at least that had something. It had some substance, whereas this, the most we got was Simple Pages, and that's just me speculating. I'm 90% sure that that's not what he meant when he wrote it, but, my idea is great. His is not. I just, I'm ready to move on to Maladroit. I'm very excited to talk about that album, but otherwise, it's okay. It's not terrible. It's definitely not the worst. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely lower middle half for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Lower.
Mm-hmm.
Lower
yeah,
middle.
I think it'll be really, really interesting. If or when we're done with this podcast, or I mean, who knows what to say for the future of Weezer, or if we at a point when we catch up with the albums that are coming out now at a pretty brisk rate,
we'll just start over.
Yeah, right.
We
have to. Yes.
Now that we're older,
maybe with a 20-year break, you know.
No, we just bring on different guests.
I don't think starting over right away would be that great. Except for the great thing is you start over right with Blue, which is really
right. And depending on which album we finish with, if it's black.
But my point is that I think in the overall scheme of things, this probably will be in the lower third tier, but more at the top of the lower third tier. You know, it'll probably be Raditude and Red, or or something. Pacific
right. So if
they're
if
below
we're
it,
saying
but probably
if we were doing our tier lists, I think this would be a solid middle choice. You know, I think we've got our S tier, which is obviously Everything Will Be Alright in the End. A tier, you know, where we've got White Album, and honestly, for me, Pacific Daydream and the Blue Album. I would put this somewhere in, you know, B and C, low B, high C tier. Mm-hmm. You know, I would agree with that, and like I said, it's just it's missing a lot of substance, and if it had more oomph to it, if it had more emotion in it, kind of like the two songs we're going to talk about next episode, which were better than anything that's on this album.
Well, it would have given this album a little more variety to it.
Exactly,
you know,
because
it's
they
a
sound
lot
so
of similar
samey.
Feel, tone, you know, throughout.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and you know, giving me a little bit just to break it up would be fine with me. Like, I'm not asking for the world here. I just want, just a little bit. But yeah, and I think the only reason this album sold as well as it did is because Hashpipe and Island in the Sun are so great.
Yeah.
Like, I really do think that those are the two reasons this album sold as well as it did. You know, and everybody was like, oh, Weezer's back to Weezer, and then they got the whole album. They're like, oh, I'm really disappointed. You know, but I don't think history will look too fondly on Green. You know I sure haven't. But anything else with the album
with what
proper?
you're just saying, let me throw in the idea of,
sure,
without even saying what those two songs are, will be this really big tease in a sense for the next episode.
We'll find out next week.
But you know, if we threw those two songs into, say, you know, at a third of the way in, then 2/3 of the way in through this, you know, through the track listing, you know, say like,
I throw it in between Crab and Knockdown Dragout.
Okay, yeah, one of the two, and then the other one, you know,
the other one. I mean, one of them is definitely
it'd be a closer.
It
like
is.
Butterfly is. You know, Butterfly is definitely the most subdued from Pinkerton, and they chose to close that out that way.
Right. And I think that would really improve the album a lot.
Yeah.
You know, just adding in
at those 2 points. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be. I mean, I think you could throw one in between Don't Let Go and Photograph as well. You know, I just think that it needed something to differentiate the songs. You know, they just sound too similar a lot of the time when you're listening all the way through.
Yeah, right.
I still can't tell you what Crab sounds like. I'm racking my brain trying to figure out, and I'm like, I can't. I just. Okay, yep, there it is. I found it. Yeah. Finally.
I had it in my head pretty quick.
But it was one of the. I'm just like, I'm not a fan.
Well, I mean, let's before we do our, you know, based on our ratings, at least roughly, you know, do this ranking that we've been doing for the previous two albums. You know, let me point out that, you know, for myself, I had for the average, I had 7.5, which is only 0.2 lower than what I gave Pinkerton.
Right.
And then 8.3 for Blue. Why? But you, apparently, you had like a 6.23, whatever. 6.25, say. Versus the really 6.95 for Pinkerton that you had average amongst all the songs. And then you had an 8 for Blue. But
it's progressively gotten worse for me.
Yeah, right. It's getting worse, you know.
It's going to get better next
than it did for me, but and then between, you know, the two of us and also our guests. I mean, when you then also average those, it's a 6.6 versus the 7 that Pinkerton got and the 8.15 that Blue got.
Yeah.
So we definitely have a trend going on, and maybe that will be we'll have a little bit opposite trend going up soon.
I think that, well, and if we were to do Pinkerton like even 5 years ago, that would be way different.
Yeah.
I think. For this album, no, it would stay the same. But we're not talking about Pinkerton. Yeah, it to me, Weezer gets better as they age, honestly. As they move, they really come into their own, into that kind of like dad rock is kind of how I put it. Blue was such a strong start. You really had nowhere to go but down for a while. Mm-hmm. Just because it is so good. Not so good, but so good. I just needed to clarify that.
Yeah.
'Cause it feels like Weezer. 'Cause it feels like Weezer.
I'm putting an official call out for guests, though.
Yeah, right.
We did not get a whole lot of people who wanted to talk about Maladroit. It's way better than you think.
And we already had like 3 people kind of lined up, I think, roughly 3, and then we got a couple more with a little post in the Minute Makers group. But we definitely have a few more spots open, and we don't always have to get everything open. We've done, for these past 2 albums where we've had guests, we've done 1 or 2, one on one, and 2 on the other, or where it was just you and I that went over 1 or 2 of the songs, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Hopefully a couple more. Put the call out. We're putting the call out here to our listeners at this time.
Email
as long as it's not an early Maladroit song that you have in mind, you'd like to.
Right.
Should be able to get you in.
All right, so do we want to move to rankings? Yeah. All right, let's do this thing. So we're including the Christmas song in this because it was released during the Green Album run. We're not including Star Wars.
But it would be number 1.
Know that, exactly, it would be number 1. Star Wars is the best Weezer song. Star Wars Episode 9 is the best song Weezer ever put out. So you want to kick us off with your number 11?
Sure. My number 11, my least favorite song on this album is "Oh Girlfriend."
That's a solid choice for the worst song on the album. For me, it's "Knockdown Drag Out."
Which I'm not crazy about you having that.
I know. I was looking. I think that's the biggest disparity we've ever had between rankings. And your number 10.
Oh, I thought we'd do your number 10 and my number.
Oh, well, because my number 10 is "Oh Girlfriend," so we're pretty close there. Not good.
So my number 10 is "Smile."
Yeah, it's okay. Smile. It's an okay song. 9, obviously, is "Crab." I just slightly enjoy it more than 2 other songs on the album.
My 9 is "Photograph,"
which is surprisingly high for my rankings here.
Yeah, you do have it a bit.
Well,
you should have it a bit higher.
What's funny about this, I'm like looking at your rating versus mine. Let's see here. We're on 9. Like, in your number 9 is already like 2 points higher than mine.
Yeah, right. Back looking at the ratings.
Yeah, we really had differing opinions on this album. So, number 8 is "Don't Let Go." Ooh. I will let go.
Whereas I will not.
Yeah,
I'm holding on for dear life here. Come on. These are some Crab and Don't Let Go and Knock Down, Drag Out. Those are some good songs, I think.
Really,
But,
what we've learned from this podcast is you have terrible taste in music.
Yeah, I like the Beatles. Jeez.
Okay,
The
what
worst
did they
band
ever
in the
do?
world. They're my favorite band. My number 8, I think that's what we're on, right?
Yeah, yep.
My number 8 is Glorious Day.
7 for me is Smile with a 5.1.
My 7 is The Christmas Song.
Which, and it's funny because we had the exact same rating for that song.
Yeah.
but mine's not at the same level. Or mine, I enjoy a lot more than you do. What number are we on? 6?
Yeah.
Glorious Day, and that's today because we're gonna be done recording about the Green Album by the end of today. So,
My number 6 is Simple Pages, which is
it's the only good song on the album.
yeah, yours with the amazing idea of what it could really be about. And
I was editing that, and like after I said it, you guys were just so quiet. It just made me laugh. I was just
I
like,
think
okay,
you just
great.
stunned us with it. I mean, we did not think that song could have a meaning like that. And
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Until we sat down to record. And we're on 5,
Yeah.
right?
You wanna do it?
Photograph,
Okay,
which
that's
I do like better than the Nickelback version. I'll put that on paper.
Well, and again, that's one I already went over. That was back a few minutes ago here in my number 9. But yeah,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, like that one a little bit better, but it's not high up. Whereas my high up next one compared to yours is Crab.
Oh, Crab is so bad.
It's
I get it. I understand. I really do. And, that's the best thing about music is that you can have such differing opinions.
yeah.
And, like, I mean, I would still say Crab is a lot better than 90% of the music that has come out, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just on this album. 4, for me, is the Christmas song, because I love Christmas.
Oh, you're saying I don't?
Yeah, you hate Christmas, apparently. You rated it the same I did. How could you? We're finally crossing the 7 threshold here.
Yeah, my number 4, I am finally letting go.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't let go.
And 3 for me is Island in the Sun, ever so slightly.
My third rank, and so we only got 2 more after this. What could those 2 possibly be for me? But my number 3 is Knock Down, Drag Out.
Ugh.
But you're not going to argue with these last 2 I have.
I won't argue with the last 2. Probably. Number 2 for me is Hash Pipe.
Yeah. Which is the same for me. So how could you argue with that?
We did it.
It is
We got one ranking the same. And then my number 1 is Simple Pages because of the outlandish, ridiculous idea that I came up with in the middle of recording.
And my number 1 is Hip Hip. Island in the Sun.
Hooray.
I mean, it's so
iconic.
simple and sweet and catchy.
And honestly, like I would say my top 3 for sure are like great Weezer songs, and they do have that substance there. I also think this album would have been a lot better if they didn't put Hash Pipe and Island right after each other.
Yeah.
If they would have thrown Crab in the middle,
Throwing
like
Crab in the
honestly,
middle?
if they put Crab in between Hash Pipe and Island in the Sun. Or just shift it down maybe to song 6 and then put Crab and Knock Down above it. I I think the album as a whole would be a lot better. There. Our opinions on the Green Album. Take it from two white guys. It's pretty okay.
Two white cis males.
Oh, heterosexual. Wonderful. Anyway, so that's the Green Album. Next week, we're going to be talking about just a couple of songs. We're only doing US/international. So, like, as long as it was released in the US on an album, right? Is that how we're doing it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
released in the US via some kind of physical media.
Right. So we're gonna do that. A couple of songs there,
and in
then,
this time frame too.
Right.
It's not like they came out 10 years later.
Right. Yeah. It's something that was released with the Green Album in some way. But yeah. So thanks everybody for listening. Again, I'm Zach Fracking Smith. You can follow me on Twitter at The Informal Log.
And I was Eric Nash. Check out my other podcasts, Watchmen Minute and Almost Famous Minute.
And yeah, you can follow Feels Like Weezer on Twitter at Feels Like Weezer. You can check us out on Facebook, Feels Like Weezer. You can join the Feels Like Weezer Listener Society on Facebook. You can also send us an email with your opinions on the Green Album, feelslikeweezer@gmail.com. And of course, as always, this podcast, Almost Famous Minute, and many other great rock and roll podcasts are brought to you by Pantheon Podcasts. Check us out, pantheonpodcast.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things rock and roll podcasts. You see, I really like how that sounds, personally.
Oh, yeah.
It's music to my ears.
'Cause it feels like Weezer.
Hip, hip.